Welcome everyone! The first thing we're going to do is bake blueberry muffins. So now's a good time to pause the video for you to gather your ingredients, weigh them and collect everything you need. Lay everything out on your table so you've got everything to hand. If you can put your sugar, your flour in separate containers and have your milk and your melted butter already, it just makes everything a lot easier. So the first step is to preheat your oven. So to those of you who are using fan-assisted ovens, it needs to be put up to 180 degrees Celsius. If it's not fan-assisted, then it's 200 degrees Celsius. I've put the temperatures for Fahrenheit on the screen as well. Next step, you grab your mixing bowl and your wooden spoon and you put all your dry ingredients together first. So your flour, your sugar, baking powder, and then put in your wet ingredients. So here's the vanilla extract, then the melted butter, which has cooled down a little bit, and then I've added the milk, and after that, crack the 2 eggs in. And then you just mix it. There is no special method to this, it really is that easy. Just make sure that the egg yolks are broken and you're basically just aiming for a smooth batter with no lumps in it. This took about 5 minutes, so it doesn't take that long. Then grab a handful of blueberries and mix it into your mixture. You don't want too many blueberries, so play this one a little bit by eye. And now divide your mixture between your 12 muffin cases. Just try and make sure that you have an equal amount of blueberries in each. Now, once you finish that, if you are anything like me, you've probably made a bit of a mess, so just make sure you clear up any spillages because those little bits on top will burn in the oven. And now all you have left to do is just to check that your oven is at the correct temperature and put your muffins as close to the middle of the oven as you can manage. Your muffins need between 20 to 25 minutes to bake, so it's a good idea to set a timer now for 20 minutes, and if it needs more time, it's easily added. Okay, so while your muffins are baking, now's a great time to start on the second recipe, so pause here to gather your ingredients. Today we're making 2 types of very traditional finger sandwiches. The first is a cucumber and cream cheese sandwich, and the second is a simple ham sandwich. So for the cucumber sandwiches, you need 2 slices of bread. You're going to spread your cream or soft cheese all the way to the edges of the bread, and you're just going to lay your thinly sliced cucumber on top like this. Your next step is to cut the crusts off the sandwich really close to the edge. Mind your fingers here, everybody. It helps if your knife is serrated, so it's got a very jagged edge, because it does help to cut the bread very cleanly. The idea of finger sandwiches is that they're these small, thin sandwiches that you can eat them in a couple of bites. So here you can see I'm cutting it in half and then in half again. So you end up with a finger sandwich. So you should end up with 4 slim finger sandwiches from that one sandwich. Now for your ham sandwich. Take another 2 slices of bread and you're going to grab your butter, if you have any, and spread it right to the very edges of the bread like we did with the cream cheese in the previous sandwich. Next, get your ham. I've put 2 slices of ham here because it tastes better. Usually we would eat this with a dab of mustard, English mustard, in the middle of the ham, but we didn't have any today, so we're just going to make a simple ham sandwich. You're going to cut the crust off in exactly the same way as the cucumber sandwiches, and here you've cut it in half, half again, and you end up with 4 finger sandwiches. You can present these sandwiches in whichever way you want, on whatever dish you want, but the important thing is that you lay them on their sides so that you can see the filling really easily. So at about this point, you might want to check on your blueberry muffins. If your muffins look like this, so they're golden brown, risen, and they look delicious, then take them very carefully out of the oven. Don't drop them like I almost did, and check that they're ready. So to do this, you poke a skewer into the muffin, and if it comes out clean like you can see here, then that means that the muffin is done. If your muffins need more time, not a problem, just put them back in the oven for another 5 minutes and come back to check on them. If they are ready, take them out and leave them to cool. Once you've done that, now's a really good time to clear your area, do a bit of washing up, because we're about to make the tea. So pause the video here to collect your ingredients. Here we go, we are at the last stage of preparing afternoon tea. So your tea making should happen at the very last minute before you sit down to your afternoon tea. Very important because the tea has to be freshly made. If you're using a kettle today, now would be the time to start boiling the water. You could also use the microwave or just boil water on the stove. The first step is to warm up your teapot. So using hot water, doesn't have to be boiling. Pour about an inch into your teapot, close the lid and set it aside for a few minutes. The reason we do this is just to keep the tea as hot as possible for as long as possible, and also if you pour boiling water with the tea in a cold teapot, it actually changes the taste of the tea. However you are boiling your water today, we need to use water that has just come off the boil. This is a phrase we use a lot in England, and it basically means this, when the switch clicks off because the water has just reached boiling temperature. So now throw away the hot water that was in the teapot, put in 2 to 3 tea bags and use that boiling water that has just come off the boil, to fill your teapot. And now we close the lid and we wait. So we need to allow the tea bags to steep for a little while. We need to let all the flavour be released into that boiling water which we've just poured in. Now there are theories as to how long you should really steep your tea bags for, and everybody has a personal preference. It should be around 2 to 3 minutes, but it's just long enough to have a history lesson. When you think of afternoon tea, you might think of something that looks a little bit like this. Now, afternoon teas like this are very fancy, and usually they're just a treat, a bit of a luxury for a birthday or a celebration, and you can find them all over the country. What we've made today seems very simple in comparison, but if you look at these photos, we've done the basics of an afternoon tea. We've made sandwiches, and we have something sweet, which is our blueberry muffins, and of course we have the tea. We definitely don't have luxurious afternoon teas like this very often, but it is true that we all make ourselves a mug of tea or coffee and a couple of biscuits at around 4 o'clock every day. This is tea time, a very important time of the day for any British person. The whole afternoon tea tradition started with this very stylish looking lady here. This is Anna, 7th Duchess of Bedford. She served in the capacity of Lady of the Bedchamber to Queen Victoria, so this was in the 1830s and 1840s. So Anna found that she got hungry at around 4 o'clock every day. She was, as you can probably tell, quite a rich lady, so she didn't have very much to do. So she started asking for a private snack in her bedroom, tea, a sandwich and some cake. Eventually she started inviting some friends around, and it just became the popular social thing to do, and it took off, and it stayed. And now most people in the UK will have tea at around 4 o'clock, and occasionally they will have a celebration, and it looks very, very luxurious. And that is the end of our history lesson and the beginning of your afternoon tea. So gather your family and serve your afternoon tea. Pour their tea directly into their teacups. Serve your blueberry muffins and your sandwiches. It's traditional to serve black tea with milk and have sugar on offer just in case anyone wants sugar, although personally I don't take any sugar with my tea. And that's it. Congratulations, you have created a basic English afternoon tea.